World War II saw some of the most iconic aircraft ever built. Spitfires soaring to the skies, B-17s bombing deep into enemy territories, and Messerschmitts locked in deadly dogfights. But not all aircraft of the war became legends. Some were overshadowed, forgotten by history despite their innovation and contribution. Today, we take a look at some of these forgotten aircraft of World War II. Our first forgotten aircraft is the Brewster F2A Buffalo, an American fighter that had a promising start but ultimately became an infamous example of technological inadequacy in wartime aviation. Developed in the late 1930s, the Buffalo was the U.S. Navy's first monoplane fighter, featuring an enclosed cockpit and retractable landing gear, cutting edge at the time. However, when the war broke out, the Buffalo found itself outclassed by more maneuverable and better armed Japanese aircraft like the A6M-0. Despite its shortcomings, the Buffalo found some success in the hands of the Finnish Air Force. In Finnish service, this aircraft was flown with skill, taking advantage of superior tactics and pilots to achieve an impressive kill ratio against Soviet aircraft. But elsewhere, particularly in the Pacific, the Buffalo proved a death trap for its pilots, leading to its rapid replacement by the far superior F-4F Wildcat. Next on our list is the Blackburn Roc, a British naval fighter that was designed for a very specific and ultimately flawed purpose. The Roc was a turret fighter, a concept that has seen some success in bombers but was still ill-suited for single-engine aircraft. Designed to protect British fleets, it featured a rear-mounted, power-operated turret armed with four .303 caliber machine guns. On paper, it sounded innovative, allowing the pilot to focus on flying while the gunner handled the defense. In reality, the Roc was heavy, sluggish, and unable to hold its own against enemy fighters. It was slow, lacked forward-firing weapons, and was simply outmatched in dogfights. Most Rocs ended up being used for secondary roles such as training and target towing, and the aircraft faded into obscurity by the war's end. Germany produced many formidable fighters during World War II, but one that never saw full-scale production was the Heinkel He-100. Designed as a competitor to the Messerschmitt Bf 109, the He 100 was sleek, fast, and technically advanced. It set multiple speed records, reaching over 400 miles per hour in test flights, an astonishing feat for the time. Despite its potential, politics and logistical concerns doomed the He 100. The German Air Ministry had already committed to the Bf 109, and the standardization of aircraft was prioritized over fielding multiple designs. As a result, only a handful of the He 100s were produced, mainly for propaganda purposes, and the aircraft never saw combat. One of the most bizarre and ambitious aircraft designs of World War II was the Curtiss-Wright XP-55 Ascender. Its unconventional canard-based design featured a pusher engine at the rear and a forward-mounted elevator instead of a traditional tail. The goal was to improve maneuverability and visibility for the pilot, but in practice, the XP-55 suffered from stability issues and poor flight performance. Despite multiple redesigns and test flights, the XP-55 never proved anything superior to existing fighters like the P-51 Mustang or the P-47 Thunderbolt. The program was ultimately cancelled, and only three prototypes were built. Still, the XP-55 remains a fascinating example of the outside-the-box thinking that wartime aviation sometimes encouraged. Japan's Mitsubishi Ki-83 was a long-range heavy fighter designed to counter American bombers and escort missions. Unlike most Japanese aircraft, which prioritized maneuverability over firepower and protection, the Ki-83 was a departure from tradition. It was fast, capable of speeds up to 430 miles per hour, heavily armed with four 30mm cannons, and had excellent range. However, by the time the Ki-83 was ready for production in 1945, the war was nearly over. Only a handful of prototypes were built, and the aircraft never saw combat. Had it entered service earlier, it might have had a significant impact on air battles over the Pacific. Instead, it remains an intriguing what-if of aviation history. While these aircraft may not have gained the fame of the P-51 Spitfire or Zero, they each played a role in the evolution of wartime aviation. Some were ahead of their time, others were victims of circumstance, but all contributed to the lessons that shaped post-war aircraft design. Which of these forgotten aircraft do you think had the most potential? Let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into aviation history.